This is Art Talk with April, Season 5. This season, we're talking with some return artists from previous seasons and some new artists, some people that are just starting out, and some gallery professionals. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Art Talk with April. Today we have Amita, Bhakta. I cannot pronounce her last name. My apologies. She's an amazing artist. And you're located in Huntsville?
Florence, Alabama.
Florence, Alabama. Ah, okay. How wonderful is that? Well, thank you for talking to me today.
Thank you, April, for inviting me.
Yeah. I really love what you're doing, and kind of the way we get started here is to learn how you got started in art, like how your creativity came about.
I guess always, as a child, a majority of us draw and sketch and all, but I had an uncle who always did pen and ink drawings. So I have seen him do pen and ink drawings when I was little, and he was an artist. He wasn't in terms of selling his work, and that he wasn't doing. He was just always sketching on back of a newspaper or magazine, or even little, the side columns on the or any paper or any envelopes or anything, just as people doodled, he sketched. And I just enjoyed looking at all that. I grew up with my first connection with art was that. And he was influenced by, I think, one of the big artists of India, Gujarat, especially the state I came from. And he was a successful artist named Kanu Desai. And he always talked about him and his work. And I really did not know, had no idea who he was or anything, except he was in the talk of my uncle's talk. Yeah. And as I grew up, after we immigrated, my dad used to get this magazine. It was a literary magazine for youth. Not just youth, it was literary magazine for Gujarati literature. And in it, there would always be a visual art story, article on visual artists, and they'll be featured. And the cover page will have that artist's work. Yeah. So once I was 14 when we immigrated, so my dad used to get that magazine for me, and that started my journey into figuring out or look into the art world, because till then I was not, I was just growing up like normal kid would be. But I was drawn to it somehow through that magazine. And flipping through its pages, I came across the same name that my uncle was talking about. And from there on, I started paying attention to the visual art section of that magazine and started learning about different artists. And then then I was in high school, going through library and finding all these European artists and Renaissance time, and then taking art classes, of course. Regular art class in the high school intrigued me. So, but college came, and I did not want to waste my credit hour in art. I wish I had not thought like that.
No.
I was thinking, I don't want to waste my parents' money by taking art classes while I should be. No. I was a chemistry major, so I really was very serious and focused on trying to do that. But art was always in my heart. And years later, we built this house and the walls needed paintings, and I wanted paintings that meant something to me.
Sure.
And it was very difficult to find some in Alabama that, and then there were, I mean, I always talked about painting, picking up brush and painting, which I did in high school, but had not done it since. So
Yeah.
my son went off to college, and my friends, I was having bad emptiness syndrome.
Oh, no.
Yes. And my friend's mom actually suggested that, why don't you start painting? You talk about it all the time. So then I started painting in his room, my son's room. I was at the point where I couldn't even go to his room. I was missing him so much. So I started my paintings. I did 2 paintings in his room, and then came down. His room is upstairs. So I came downstairs, and I was over my empty nest, or had a handle on it much better. And that started my journey into art slowly. I mean, I was still working full time, and that, you cannot all the time create.
For
But
sure.
now I have eased out of my work, and have plenty of time to.
Yeah, the world has opened up.
Yes,
That's
the world
wonderful.
has opened up. I had, since I'm a self-taught artist, it also took a longer time for me to have that self-esteem, and that, and I still don't like to call myself artist.
No way.
No, it's because I feel like artist is a very, there's only one artist, I feel like,
Oh, sure.
Yeah. So I'm just a painter trying to be an artist, I feel like. Artist is it's a big responsibility, I feel like, because we reflect about the world that we live in,
Yeah.
and and our experiences and our thoughts and our whatever we create matters, I feel. And whenever we show, or whenever we exhibit our work, it needs to have that authentication. It needs to have the originality. It should have it deserves the space that it's going to occupy in this world. And lately that thought has been reverberating within me for a while, and I even stopped painting for a while.
Oh, gosh.
But then I realized, what will I do if I don't? So now I've gotten back into painting. My clay work, I still haven't been able to go, because it will never be destroyed. It will always be here, part of occupying space on this earth. And this earth has limited space. So I just don't want to create for the sake of creating, just sake of making. So that's why I say.
Yeah, that is a very interesting perspective to have around it. And it also kind of feels very, very, what's the word I'm looking for? Kind of overwhelming, though, because when you think of it in that way, I can totally empathize with you, and thinking of it that way, and then being overwhelmed by, feeling like, okay, now the things that I do make, they need to be really, really important. They need to have this message, or this big message, in order to be here, in order to exist.
Well, all these thoughts started a few years back. 2019, when Tennessee Valley Art Museum, the curator there named Jonathan Kane, asked me one day that he wanted to do something on India. And in this North Alabama region, there has not been any exhibition done on India. So when he asked me, I felt, how do I show off? I mean, there is plenty of information on India on net now. Anybody wants to research, they can find it. But how do I show the identity of India, or
Yeah.
or without people, it's just piece of land.
Yeah. Yeah.
People who exist there in that region um, forms a culture, their way of life, and what they are becomes the nation.
Yeah.
Yeah. So representing India, or how to bring the what India is about, or Indian people are about, the people from India are about, to this part of North Alabama
Yeah.
was a very serious task for me.
Yeah.
And when he asked me, I thought about, there are about 4.6 million of Indian Americans or people from India,
Sure.
or descendants, all mixed together, about 4.6 million living in US, working, paying taxes, calling this land home. And we are all very diverse because Indian culture is very diverse. There are 22 official languages on the Constitution of India,
Wow.
and it recognizes hundreds of other languages. So, us humans, we gather ourselves with languages. Wherever we group ourselves together, we form a community, we form our culture, and that's how we start to define ourselves. But when there are so many different languages, and that means so many different culture, different, we have different cuisine, we have different way of dressing, we have different way of life. Even though we are all from India, doesn't mean that we all have. Now because of communication is faster, transportation is faster, so everybody is merging, or but before it was very different. There is even a saying in the native language of mine called Gujarati, that every 12th village there is a new language.
Wow.
How diverse was India. I mean, it is, you can imagine. So the creating the identity of India for my local Alabamians here in North Alabama, presenting them India was very challenging. And I thought, and then I started thinking, the majority of the languages in India come from Sanskrit language. So I took inspirational lines, inspirational thoughts from Sanskrit language, Sanskrit scriptures, texts, literature, and created my visual paintings, visual interpretations for our community here. And that body of work was called Moments of Radiance. It was a part of a larger exhibition that we put together for the museum called Darshan, The Visions of India, which ran about 6 weeks at the museum. And it had my work in the section called Moments of Radiance. And then there were about 20. I asked Jonathan if we can invite Indian American artists like me to come and exhibit, because there has never been an art call for any of us, at large. There had been maybe one or two or three grouped together, or always part of a larger group, but never exclusive Indian American artist ever showed anywhere together. So when we did that, 22 artists joined.
Wow.
And we had a exhibition called Darshan Visions of India, and it was so liked by it. This was in 2022. And people loved it so much in our area. They still talk about it. They keep telling me, when are you doing it again?
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
But
How amazing.
that exhibition brought the Indian American artist to, and now from that 22, we have a nonprofit organization. I must say that while we had gathered here, there was a small group that started in Bay Area, in And by the time last year, when we connected, they had just formed a nonprofit organization. Since they had already formed a nonprofit organization and the status for it, we decided that let's just join into that group. So now it's called Indian American Artists Association, and now we have 50 members.
Wow.
So
that's wonderful.
It has grown so much, and I am very proud to be on the board of that association and doing a lot of different work with them, and I'm also serving on the board of the Tennessee Valley Art Association. So working with them to bring some good creative work.
Yeah.
But at that time, when I did Moments of Radiance exhibition, I studied a lot of Sanskrit. I cannot say a lot, but I definitely, it's like a vast ocean, and I just kind of dipped my toes into the Sanskrit literature and Sanskrit scripts and text and philosophy that's within Sanskrit, because majority of the Indians, I would say all Indians, whether they are Hindu or Islam, they follow Islam or Christian, the value system comes from, for all of us, from that what's in the Sanskrit text. Sanskrit and Tamil are the two oldest languages in India, and majority of our thinking, our thought process, our DNA, what's in our DNA comes from that, from there. So it was eye-opening for me, and that's where my thought process has changed. Doing Moments of Radiance have definitely changed me and my thinking. And that's why I was telling you that whatever I make, I feel it needs to have the value. It needs to bring me joy when I'm making, and it should bring others joy. Otherwise, I was, not going to keep it.
Wow.
So
That's so amazing. And it's interesting, I think it is. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense when you think of it as I'm sharing my culture and my history and of all of my people in this country and all the different languages and all the different, I guess, sections or, communities. It would be really a daunting task to be creating something like that. And then what is your primary medium? Do you have a medium that you kind of use regularly?
I use acrylics and inks to create my paintings. And I do work in clay and create sculptures, but like I said, I haven't touched the clay in past 2+ years, maybe I think 3 years or so.
Wow.
And I don't know because I feel like it will be here forever. My paintings can be burned and turned into ashes, and it's fine. But my clay, even after breaking, it will be still occupying. So I'm not ready to go back to clay yet. But I've been having serious talks. Friends of mine have been telling me they love my clay work too. They are just very kind and sweet, and trying to encourage me to go back to do both, because some of the work that came out really, and that was exhibited at the Moments of Radiance, was very thought-provoking and meaningful for the people who saw it too. It brought a lot of them. It moved a lot of people when I had exhibited there. So that's why Jonathan from Tennessee Valley Art Museum is really telling me that, it has, so I'm thinking, but I haven't.
Yeah, I think, well, that's the whole thing, that you're like, you're wanting your work to have such meaning and purpose. And it sounds like that work has such meaning and purpose. You need to do more of it.
Thank you.
That's what they're telling you, is we want more.
this we 6th century in India, there comes a textbook called Chitra Sutra, which was given to the artist, in Sanskrit. And in it, there is a shlok that says, art is not just for worldly possessions. It should lead you to a spiritual experiences.
Yeah.
And that, when I read that, I felt like, oh my God, that kind of has been the driving force in my thought process. It's leading me into this kind of thinking, that shlok, those lines in Sanskrit.
Wow. That's really beautiful. I love that. And the rest of your work that you're doing too. So is that now your overall, I guess, vision for your work?
My vision for the work, yeah. Currently, I'm working on a series called Blessings, and this series came from the Kennedy Douglas here in Florence, the art center there. Every year they invite artists to create work on mostly blues exhibition during the Handy Festival that happens here. WC Handy Festival that happens in Florence. So in our Shoals area. So I was last year, a painting I made where without much thinking or planning a painting, I just wanted to paint it's always, you have to create a work on music, theme around music. Sure. So I painted this lady playing a string instrument. I don't think it's, you can call it a sitar, but I don't think it's a sitar. At that time, I wasn't really paying attention to the authenticity or creating the truth to the instrument. At that time, I just created a string instrument that she's playing. But when I was, or almost towards the end of the painting, I decided to put a peacock that's touching her on her shoulder. And then it led me, I really liked it. So I did another painting with another lady sitting, playing a string instrument, and swans are around her.
Yeah.
And then the third painting I did where he is sitting and a bull is really next to him. And then the fourth painting I did, and that really gave me a direction that I want to, how music moves our the nature, and the other creatures besides humans. And we have seen repeatedly, if you go on internet, you'll find so many evidence of videos and images that people post about musician playing, and these animals are surrounding and responding to the music. And in Hindu culture, it's always cows with Krishna is always portrayed, where he's playing flute and they are like, and all the cows and animals, birds, they are sitting listening. So it's been in our culture very well known that music does affect non-humans.
Sure.
So that Blessing series is what I've been working on, and now I want to showcase the instruments, the classical instruments of India, along with this theme. So that's one of the series I'm working on.
Yeah, that sounds amazing. I love that.
Yeah.
That sounds really inspiring, and I think like bringing in the animals and everything. That's really. Are you doing it where is it like a different animal per piece, or a different instrument per piece?
Different instrument and different animal.
Yeah.
And in Moments of Radiance, there was a painting that I did. The first painting in that was Vasudeva Kutumbakam, and it's titled One Creator. one family.
Well, you know, did you have any like favorite artists that you would like to share or books that you could recommend?
Books that I enjoy is
Yeah.
two different.
Inspiring or artists or,
Inspiring currently is going through Sanskrit texts.
Yeah.
Kalidas is one of the, like Shakespeare is to English, Kalidas is
Mm.
to Sanskrit and all the languages of India. So
Wow.
for Indians, Kalidas is like Shakespeare.
Yeah, I got you.
So going through some of his, I'm not a Sanskrit reader, but grew up with my father who read Sanskrit, and my grandfather who read Sanskrit and translated Tagore's work into. Rabindranath Tagore is a poet, a writer. Oh my God, so many. He's an artist. Later in his life, he became a visual artist also.
Wow.
Nobel Prize winner in literature, the first Nobel Prize winner.
Wow.
He was knighted, but he gave back his knighthood in protest for the independence movement for India. So his work, my grandfather was very much influenced by, and I grew up with that literature in my home. So those two writers' work, I really, really enjoy, especially Tagore's work, Rabindranath Tagore's work. And his visual paintings were also quite contemporary in those times, and beautiful paintings, beautiful writing. Yes. And he had founded a university in those times and called Shantiniketan, and in it the arts was celebrated, and the artist who came out from there was one of the. In the beginning, I talked about that my uncle was influenced by this artist. That artist came out from his university.
Wow.
He had gone to study there. And so somehow it comes back to the full circle for me that I'm drawn to Tagore's writing and the artists that came out from his university. And one of the the professor, who is one of the leading classical Indian artists, Nandalal Bose, he did his illustration is on the Constitution of India. And beautiful lines. His fluid lines is what I'm drawn to. I also like fluidity in my painting. And that's very much I'm drawn to. Even though I love angular, very structured, paintings, but I cannot do it.
I think it takes a special person to be able to pull that kind of thing off. And
I have noticed that more men, artists, male artists, strokes are very bold, very strong, and very angular.
Yeah.
And most of
what I really love about your work is that fluidity. Like I like that. I like, and it's you said you were working with acrylics. You still have kind of this watercolory looking feel to your work a lot of times. I think it's
Thank you. Yeah,
really
that's
beautiful.
ink. Many times, some of the painting, like the one on the back, the ink helps you create that. But acrylics can be thinned down and flow like watercolor. So, and I do paint very thin. So,
using acrylic ink?
Acrylic inks, yes. Because the pigments are very, very vibrant and strong. And then acrylic itself can be, inks are new for me. So the moments of radiance is where I started using inks. Before I wasn't using inks.
Yeah.
So it's a new passion, new medium that I'm enjoying. Yes.
I absolutely love it. Yes. Yeah, that's just right up my alley of what the kinds of things I like. It's like that's what you're painting, and I just absolutely love it, and the feelings you get from it, and the fluidity. It's very feminine.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes. So I'm assuming you are also a visual artist.
Oh yes, I am, and I've done watercolor, and I've experimented with the acrylic inks too, and I would use those like watercolor, and those I see what you mean, that the colors are much more vibrant.
Yes, and then when you thin down the acrylics, it does not come as but there is a painting that I did where I used it first time, and it was wonderful.
Yeah, you're like, this is what I've been looking for. I love it. Well, and I'm gonna ask you too to send me the names of these different people that you've mentioned, because I'm not as familiar with them. I'm sure I'll be able to find them. So, any listeners who might want to look up those things and learn more about it. If you can send that to me, that would be wonderful.
I can do that.
Do you have any shows or events or things? I believe you said you didn't have anything that was going on right now, correctly?
Right now, my work, currently till end of, it's almost over, the 30th, is at the Huntsville International Airport. Yes. The gallery there has my Moments of Radiance. And the Huntsville Hospital is wanting it to exhibit in the hospital for 3 months. They are taking the work. So it will be going there.
So if you miss it at the airport, you can see it at the hospital. That's wonderful.
Yeah. Yes, it will be in the women's and children's wing, I think.
Okay.
Section of the hospital. And and then there are a couple of local exhibitions that's coming up that at the Tusucmbia Art Museum, and at the Mostly Blues that's about to open next month for the Handy Festival time. The one, I think we talked about it earlier.
Yes, we did.
About the music theme, and so those two are coming up for fall. I think there will be my wearable arts on display. I mean, at the Tusucmbia Art Museum, they do a winter art market. So I will have my wearable arts there, like the clay jewelry that I make, recycled glass and clay jewelry, and smaller paintings maybe will be there. Yeah.
And you had a like with your wearable art, you had a show, didn't you? Like a modeling show?
I took my paintings and created sarees, which the Indian women wear. So we did a fashion show. And yes, we had some friends and their daughters, and then they wore my sarees, and
that was so awesome.
It was received very well. And I'm receiving very positive remarks from that. Also, I really am enjoying creating sarees or scarves, like the ones such as
I absolutely love that. Oh my goodness.
So this is from the 6th century writer, the Kalidas that I was talking about.
Yeah.
From his very lengthy lyrical poem that he wrote called Meghdut. And it's one of the most romantic and descriptive poem that he had written. And the story in it goes that this servant to the king
Mm-hmm.
who has to get up early in the morning and harvest the lotus flowers for the king for his prayers as an offering. He wanted, he every daily, that was his task, that to go early in the morning and harvest the lotus and bring it to the king's, so he can do the puja, he can do the offering, the ceremony to the gods. Well, the servant Yaksha got married, and he was newlywed and did not want to wake up early in the morning. This city was in Himalaya mountains, so it's a little cool, and he didn't want to leave his bride pick the flowers. So he picked them in the night, and he was leaving them by the altar. Well, lotus flower, they say, opens in with the sun, and then it closes in the night. So in the night, a bumblebee got trapped inside the lotus flower, and he harvested it and left it by the altar for the king to do his puja, his offering. It opened in the morning, and the bumblebee bit him, bit the king. So king put him in exile for a year.
Oh,
Yeah.
no.
Banished him to the plains of India.
Oh,
so he was 6 months had gone by. He was like in excruciating pain, missing his wife so much. When he saw the first clouds rolling in, he told the clouds to be the messenger and take his message to his wife. And that's where the opening of the poem begins. The story is it's in a very short, but the whole poem is about him telling the clouds to be his messenger, and then travel through India, different parts, and he guides the clouds that you'll pass through this region and that region. There are people who live in this region are nice. These people are a little more greedy. So don't stay and give the rain too much, You move out of there fast, and things like that. And different areas he describes, and then finally reaches up there. And he tells him where is his house is in the mountains in the Himalaya. And it's a beautiful poem.
Yeah, and wonderful.
So that inspired this painting of his description of his wife and I guess her friends. Yeah.
So now, are you getting those manufactured someplace, or how?
I did have these. Had them printed in India.
Wow.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
That's amazing. So all of your sarees were like that as well.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Oh, there is a fellow who has a printing business that I know. He was mostly doing T-shirt printing, but then when I asked this for him to do this, he did pretty good job.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Are you planning on doing any more of the fashion shows or any more?
Opportunity comes, yes, I want to do more of those. If there is, opportunity comes. There are so many girls who are saying, whenever you do it again, I want to be your model. I want to model it for you. Yeah. And there are people who are saying that they want to purchase it and also, but I only did one saree at a time for this show. So I haven't taken any order for selling.
Yeah.
But people are liking.
That makes it one of a kind, though,
Yes. It's
even more collectible and special, I think, if they're not, something that you could get hundreds of. That's wonderful.
True. The funny part is now we use cloud to store our messages and our things. And this 6th century writer had used clouds as a messenger.
He knew about it already, didn't he?
Yeah.
Oh, that's so amazing.
So with this
That's so
scarf, I
fun.
always tell that story of
Yeah.
how still the 6th century writer is just as contemporary.
Yeah. And I think, I think a lot of your work is coming from, the tales, the folklore and the stories from your country, right? And that's like one of those things I love. That makes it so meaningful to, sort of tell those stories and continue telling those stories through art is really beautiful. I love that.
Yes. Yes. I think what we were talking about yesterday was Vasudeva Kutumbakam. The world is one family. And that painting, I was trying to portray those words into a painting.
Yeah.
And I wanted to do an abstract painting. I thought I would do a very abstract painting, but I ended up, when I started painting, when I just layered some color, and then I kept seeing all these images and I kept developing. And it's not just that feeling of love for another human being, but it's for the animals and for the nature and for this earth, this whole world. So that's what I try to portray in that painting. And I think I shared that painting with you yesterday.
It's the one that has it has all sorts of animals in it,
animals
right?
in it, yes. And people and humans and animals, yes.
And how big is that? How big is that original
I
painting?
think it's 31 by 31.
Wow.
So,
okay. So it's pretty big. And then you were, I guess, putting down your color and seeing shapes in the paints or just being inspired.
Yeah. It just evolved.
Yeah.
It just evolved. And more I painted, more I kept finding things to put in. Yeah. My husband finally told me to put it away. He says, enough, you need to now get on with other paintings. But that painting, I kept on painting. Actually, I remember of course I put it away and then I did all the other paintings. But the 2 days before, even the 2 or 3 days before the exhibition of Moments of Radiance to open, I was still painting. I was still adding things in it, Ukraine war had started. So I wanted to add the sunflowers to represent the country.
Oh, yeah.
So that was the last thing I added and then took it to the framer to have it framed.
Wow, my goodness.
And that
one was a work in progress all the way up to when it was framed.
Yes.
Oh, that's wonderful. Sometimes that's how you're inspired and that's what something comes to mind and you think, okay, I'm going to add that. I'm going to add that. And it just keeps going.
It just keeps developing. If your painting is with you, there's always, you want to keep adding. Yeah.
I think that's how it is to be an artist too. You keep adding things and making more and doing more.
Yes. To make it perfect. You are never done until till that painting is no longer with you. Sure. I feel,
Well, do you have any advice for other younger artists or people who are starting out, or maybe even Indian artists who are interested in, being more part of the community and the nonprofit that you've been involved with?
For artists, I would say create things that are meaningful to you, that brings you joy. If that brings you joy, it might bring joy to others, I don't want to just paint for the sake of painting, Yeah. I know we have to do as a practice. Many people do it as a practice, daily, X amount of work they do as a regimen to get started on their core or in the development of their portfolio. Practices are good, but you can always cover up and repaint instead of holding on to every practice, because I don't know, I have become very, been thinking too much about how much waste we create on this earth. Our footprints, when we go, we leave a huge footprint behind. There's no way to come on to this earth and leave this beautiful earth without, as humans, we will create that. And we will leave behind waste.
Stuff.
We will leave behind stuff. Yes. And the current market and the current commerce have taught us to have more and more. And we forgot to live that simple life, and it's destroying our earth. That's all. It's impacting the future generation. It's going to impact. And that's what I feel. As little as of a footprint I can leave behind, I would like that. I that's my thought process, and not everybody needs to follow or think like that. This is just my thinking right now. Right now in my life, that's where I am.
I think it's a good way to be thinking. I think that's a great message for everybody.
I've always felt like using recycled materials to create art. So I do that. There are many times I use, boards, tiles, scraps of tiles. I mean, ceramic tiles, the way it piles up when construction time, and it does not decompose. So,
I mean, might as well, you can turn it into something beautiful and collectible that people appreciate and, give to their family and things like that.
Yeah. So that's one of the reasons I paint on tiles also. And oil paints take on very well on the tile, and there's new enamel paints and multimedia paints and the glass paint and the gloss paints that Liquitex makes gives extremely good pigments. It's I think archival pigments. At least I feel like they are, and they're long lasting. How many years artist wants to keep is up to them. But I have done paintings from that about 23 years now, and they are fine. And it's displayed in my foyer. So sun hits it, and several hours sunlight is, passing through it, and it hasn't changed its color or anything. So, So I think it should be okay.
Yeah, that sounds like it.
At least these are, you are limited by size with the tiles, So these are not great big paintings that you want to,
they don't take up a lot of space.
Yes, it's just one of the other, I feel like there's so much scrap thrown. So besides wood, driftwood, I just about anything, whatever inspires me. My friends' foyer parquet floors, wood pieces were so perfectly cut, such perfect trimmed. All that I used to create a painting, collage work, and so
that's definitely a good way to go about it. Instead of just buying more and more and more, reusing things around, because I mean, essentially that's what those things are. They're the same sorts of materials. They've just, come straight from the store, wrapped in plastic, and it's just
very true. So, I mean, I'm not saying that I don't buy canvases and all. I do have canvases and all, but all these things also I use,
Yeah.
in my work.
Do what you can do. Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah. And for Indian American artists, I urge them to join this organization and be part of it. I'm involved in, like I said, I'm on their board. So I'm working towards first artist retreat. I want to bring here to Alabama and bring all of them here in Florence. And many of them are excited and wanting to come. So I'm working towards that.
Oh,
so maybe this fall it might happen, or it might happen in this. If not in fall, it will be spring.
Yeah.
They will be coming here.
Exciting. Yeah.
Yeah.
That'd be wonderful. Oh my goodness. That's a great idea.
Yeah. So those two projects that I'm working on is this creating wearable art, and if opportunity rises to do a more fashion show kind of a thing, taking fine words, the fine, inspiring words from our literature and turning it into visual art, paintings. So fine words to fine paintings to fine fashion. So
I love it.
Yeah, that's one of the things.
Thank you so much for talking to me today.
Sure.
I really enjoyed it and learned so much. Thank you for listening to Art Talk with April. New episodes are out every Tuesday at 6 p.m.